Hello there! In this game, Shirov handles an opposite-colored bishop ending like you've never ever seen before. This brilliant game was played at the prestigious Linares tournament in Spain, and we are at move 47 in an interesting Gruenfeld exchange where Shirov, with black, is 2 pawns up, which is very good for him, but they also have opposite-colored bishops, which could have turned out easily to be not so good for him, because endings with opposite-colored bishops are notoriously drawish and usually favor the defender. However, in this game, as we'll see, Shirov makes very good use of his bishop. So, what's the situation? Well, black has 2 passed pawns, but they can't promote on their own because of the white bishop, which cuts the board in half like a laser beam, and would kill any pawn stepping on the long diagonal. Since the black bishop can't really help on the dark squares, the pawns, in order to advance, need the help of the black king. This, however, is blocked, so he can't really move forward. It could try to go to c4 via d6, but then the bishop would take the f6 pawn, creating a pawn majority for white, which could morph into a passed pawn, and later into a queen, so it wouldn't be so great for black. So what else can Shirov do? Well, he could also move his bishop, let's say to g4, and make way for the king, but after king e3, the black king can get in through e4, and white has a solid grip on the d4 square. So what to do then? Well, it's time for that bishop to do something useful. It can't just sit there like a top pawn. So after some thinking, Shirov played, and you better sit down for this one. He played bishop h3. He just sacked his bishop. What the hell? How can you do that? Who needs that useless bishop anyway? It was just standing in the way. Interestingly though, this sack solves all his problems and black is winning. Now let's see why. If white takes the bishop, then he can't create a useful pawn majority anymore, because in chess, that only works if the pawns are standing next to each other, holding hands and everything. If they are lined up like lemmings, they're not a useful majority. Not in chess anyway. And that is because even if white would have a whole fleet of queued up pawns, Gary here would be able to stop them all by himself. So the f6 pawn is not really needed anymore to stop any white pawns, so the black king can stop babysitting and go forward safely to help advance his d and a pawns. And the single tempo that white lost capturing the bishop is all the black king needed to infiltrate decisively into white's position. If instead of taking the bishop, white plays king f2 to be in time to shut out the black king, then black plays king f5, and regardless of where the white king goes, f3 or e3, the bishop takes the pawn. If king f3, then after bishop takes and white captures the bishop, the black king invades on the like squares, as in the game. If white plays king f3, then after bishop takes, the king can't advance, but black will eventually win by creating a third passed pawn. If here, white plays g3, the black king also infiltrates successfully into white's position. But white took the bishop and then followed king f5, and after king f2, king e4. Now, if white plays here king e2 to not allow the black king to advance to d3, then after d4, bishop b2 and f5, the white bishop is required to keep both eyes on the a pawn, and the black king with 2 passed pawns is just too much to handle for the white king. So instead, after king e4, the bishop captured the pawn on f6. Shirov now played d4 in order to cut the bishop's view of the queening square. Now he's threatening a3 with promotion, so the bishop stops that by moving to e7. The king goes into d3, and his plan is to go to c2, from where it would allow the d-pawn to access the d3 and the d1 squares. Topalov now tries a last trick with bishop c5, hoping that the black king goes to c3, after which king e2 would even win for white, because black wouldn't be able to deny the queening square from the white king. For example, after d3 check and king d1, both black pawns are effectively stopped, and black is lost because he would get soon into Zugzwang and lose his pawns. Shirov, however, wasn't today's chicken, and he calculated everything before the bishop sack, and here he actually moved the correct king c4 with a tempo on the bishop. After the bishop moved, maintaining an eye on a3, black played king b3 and Topalov resigned because he can't stop the d-pawn. After king e2 and king c2, the d-pawn is promoting. The follow-up is bishop b4, d3 check, king e3, a3, distracting the bishop, and after the bishop takes, d2, bishop somewhere, and finally the pawn promotes. And in this position, even I would beat Topalov with one hand. Shirov has amazing moves with every piece on the board, but this bishop h3 idea in this game is very special, I have to say. Thanks for watching, see you soon. If white takes the bishop, then he can't create the useful pawn majority anymore, because in chess, that only works if the pawns are standing next to each other, holding hands and everything. No.